All right. I'm not much one for rules, so we were going to start before the countdown was done.
Yeah, you know,
I don't think that shocks anybody.
it
So before
shouldn't.
we get bitching about the training community in general, or the gun community, fuck both of the communities, they rarely overlap. There is the normal intro bullshit. Tonight's live chat brought to you by True North Concepts, makers of the grip stop and the modular holster adapter. Just talked to the guys, saw them at a shindig this weekend, and there is now a coupon code. If you buy stuff from them off their website and you type in Tremis10, there is 10% off all their stuff. Let's see if I can't do a cut and paste. And a link to True North. That should work. Yes. All right. Hello, TJ, Jeff, Adam, Mike, all the cool people, and me. So once I got a hold of the True North fellas and the discount, I asked the guys at First Wave to hook me up with a drop leg holster to put on their MHA, and I have it in front of me, and it looks like this, and it's like a half taco, half pancake, because it's not like tacoed in or pancaked in the back. I like the holes like mount knives and shit too, and then I use the Safari Land, I think it's called a QLS, so that the holster with the forks comes off, and then the MHA bolts to your belt, or your belt slides through it, however you want to do it, and then the other part. It's pretty cool. I told the folks at First Wave that they should make these, and they said, well, you should sell them on your website. And I was like, well, it's not like a Tremis design. And they said, well, then I said, you guys should make your own website and sell it. And then they told me, well, if you run the website, maybe we will. So possibly that could happen. Crystal is here. Half taco, half pancake. Taco pancakes.
Do you put butter and syrup on that, or cheese and taco sauce?
Cheese and syrup?
Interesting combo.
Speaking of tacos, not that this was remotely Italian, I just visited with Fourth Taco, a local taco joint here in Bloomsburg, and confirmed some of the details for them selling lunch at the All Hands Muster, which really was supposed to be one of the questions asked later, but I didn't put it as one of my reminders. I just said taco reminded me. And for folks who have been here, like up in the Bloomsburg area, Fourth Taco it's the place. All right. Speaking of holsters, one last week to get in on I'm trying to copy the link here. The holster giveaway. The sign up is right there. If your name is picked, you get a free instructor holster in Rhodesian brushstroke in any one of the pistols that instructor holster is available for.
Just a point real quick on that to interrupt you. I'm going to be putting out a video myself because I happen to have one of those instructor holsters. And over the, 12 years or so that I've tried various holsters like that from different manufacturers, of which I have a box full of, that one is hands down my favorite, and I wish it would have come out years ago. So if you haven't tried one of those yet, I highly urge you to. It is ridiculously comfortable.
Awesome. They are back up on my website. Now the website's unfucked from Shopify. Still got to put a calendar up though. So I got yelled at today. I can't find your calendar. I haven't made one. Risky Krisky, hello, sir. Uncle Guns, hello. Also, I'm trying to figure out how to integrate MailChimp into BigCommerce, because BigCommerce doesn't have like an in-house email app, so I can't do like the newsletter until I figure out how to get MailChimp integrated, which it is available to do, but I don't know fuck all about websites. So
Don't ask me.
yeah, I wasn't gonna.
I'm in the same boat as you.
I don't even have all the products back up there yet. I have ones like all the classes you can sign up for this year are up there that are like on the schedule, but like all the ones that happened earlier, like there's no class description or any of that because it's just so much work to learn a new web ecosystem. Well, Mr. Your Freedom is undercover.
That is somebody that you know, but I'm not going to say who.
That's awesome. I love it when people are undercover
because he's trying to be incognito.
That's fine. Speaking of people I know, Ron and I were chatting before we started here, and he said that, and I hopefully I'm not calling out Your Freedom, but Jay Dressler and Brian Keeney both said hello, so I said I would shout out a hello back to them live and whatnot. So if it's one of you two that's Your Freedom, just pretend that it's not, and nobody will.
It's not. You're clear.
Awesome. All right. I guess that's all the house cleaning bullshit I had to do in the beginning. Anything you'd like to throw out there, tell people what you're doing, what you're up to before we start bitching about shit?
I'm just a broken record. I'm up to the same thing I'm always up to. I'm up to my neck in backlog of orders, trying to get stuff done, and force myself to stop early tonight and jump on here with you because it's usually get up in the morning, get coffee, start working, try to remember to eat lunch at some point, work some more, try to remember to stop for 30 minutes and work out, have dinner, work some more until my wife yells at me that it's getting late and I need to come take a shower and come to bed. So that's like my life every single day.
So you're busy is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Both the good way and the bad way.
Well, maybe that means that someday you'll start taking orders again.
I will. I have plans to, and have been working on stuff on the side of that. But I know there's people asking. I don't know when the orders are going to open back up. I can't tell you. I'm a one-man operation. I could knock out 50 orders in the next 2 weeks, or I could freaking come down with the flu and be bedridden for 2 days. You'd be surprised how much extra time that adds to orders when you lose a day being sick or something. I mean, it's not that I'm planning on getting sick. I'm just saying.
Well, I don't think anyone plans on it. I'm tracking, though.
Anytime something happens as a one-man operation, it affects the whole operation because you're the man. So.
Yep. I feel your pain there.
Orders will be opening back up at some point in time, but I cannot tell you when, and I won't even guesstimate when, because just as sure as I do, that date will roll around and somebody will be, you said you were taking orders again on this date.
Oh, yeah. You don't even have to say a date. You can say like spring. And they would say, well, spring is obviously between this day and this day. So that last day is the hard cutoff.
Yeah, March 1st, it'd start getting flooded with emails.
Yeah.
So when I'm back taking orders again, you'll see it on the website. You'll see it on YouTube. You'll see it on all the social media stuff. You'll see it everywhere. So
we'll sing the praises over here.
And no, I don't have an email list. I do not have that kind of fancy equipment where I can send out all that kind of stuff. And even if I did, I don't have time for somebody to sit in front of the computer and do it.
Yeah, that's that eats me. And like so like when I have an email list, and maybe one a month is where I peak out with that. I was telling my wife, I said, oh, I got to send an email out. And she's like, okay, so like we can go out to eat in like a half hour. I'm like, nah, about 4. She's like, how would it take 4 hours to type an email? I'm like, because I don't know anything about what the hell I'm doing. And like, oh, this picture isn't the right format. So now I'm Well, normally then I would just send it to Mike and I say, hey man, I don't know why, but I can't use this photo. Can you make it usable? But you get the idea. It's
No, that's why I've had to tell people I answer everybody's emails that email me, but I only actually get in there and check the emails about once or twice a week, just because I either have to choose. I can be in the office behind a computer answering emails, or I can be behind a sewing machine sewing. I can't do both at the same time.
yeah.
So if you email, I'll answer you back, but it might take a day or two. My wife works a full-time job all the time, and she tries to keep the books straight and everything when she can in the spare time. But other than that, the rest of it's all me. And if I got to choose between trying to answer emails or actually sewing and getting gear made and shipped, I'm going to be sewing and getting gear made and shipped, and I'll answer your email as quickly as I can.
That makes sense. And like I've had people say, oh, why don't you get somebody else to answer your emails? I'm like, who the fuck can answer them? Now, if I get an email that says, hey, I got a question about this class, well, then I need someone that teaches that class to answer it. Just like if somebody had a question about, hey, does your pouch fit this, drum magazine? You'd be the guy to answer it.
When someone emails and says, how close are you getting to my order? Well, if I had somebody checking emails, that person's going to have to stop and come ask me. Then I'm going to have to stop and get up and go pull that order and look at it. And then I might as well have just done it all from the get-go.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Wow, I guess we already started bitching. We didn't even get to like the training community and the gun community.
Well, it's easy to do.
I mean, I guess it's those people.
Yeah. When it's like right now, I probably shouldn't even say this out loud, but I will. I've been working on one order for multiple days now. One order. But it's one order that's got like 15 items in it. And by items, I mean chest rigs and bandoliers. You don't make 15 of them in a day. It doesn't happen. And it from my end, it drives me batty because I'll feel like, my God, I've been like multiple days now, I haven't shipped anything. Then I look over and there's a stack of gear sitting there, but it's like all still on the same order that I haven't finished yet. And then my brain starts running with me and be like, that's literally like 15 orders that I could be shipping out right now, but it's all just one. So I love the big orders. I get excited when I come up to a big order where somebody's ordered like a freaking bunch of stuff, because I'm like, cool, somebody's outfitting somebody. And then I'm like, oh God, this is going to take 2 or 3 days just to do this one order, and it's going to drive my OCD crazy.
I hear you. Bryant Stevens, hello. Somebody else popped in here, Scott Wexler. So now I have to stop and ask Scott a question, because I was waiting for him to show up, because Scott knows a thing or two about wood. And Scott, I have this wooden drinking thing, and the inside is full of like polyurethane or something to make it like watertight. The outside is not, and it cracked. I glued it back together, but I'd like to put something on the outside of it. When I was sanding it and shit, I was like, oh, I should seal this. What kind of thing could I put on the outside of this to not make it like super glossy and be a little more protected than just raw wood, and touch it to my lips without like, dying of fucking radioactive cancer?
I say put some polyurethane on it and then just sand it down a little bit.
Well, Scott makes a bunch of cool wood stuff. He is an entrepreneur. He owns Wexler Woodworks. So I was waiting for him to tell me what his expert opinion was.
Well, while you're waiting on him, if Crystal wants to volunteer to move down here and become the new secretary, we can talk.
Well, I don't know about the tactical nylon business, but in the tactical firearms instructor business, what everybody needs is a Maryland. And since Maryland found herself not doing Marilyn's job for her old employer. I thought a perfect job for her would be to be the Marilyn for a bunch of people. So like we could get her a laptop and a phone with one of them little headset things, and she would just see who's calling or who's emailing, and she could be like, "Oh, Tremis Dynamics, this is Marilyn, how can I help you?" And then a moment later, she could be saying, "Oh, this is Definitive Training Solutions. This is Marilyn. How can I help you?" And like that could be a whole gig for her. Maybe we could get her to do some tactical nylon-ish stuff too.
Like I said, if Crystal wants to pack up and move down here, there's places we could facilitate that.
All right, I'm seeing tongue oil, walnut oil, or walrus oil. Somebody told me beeswax, but the guy that told me that, I'm like, what the fuck do you know about food safe?
Well, to get walrus,
and then I didn't know if like beeswax meant like actually beeswax, or if beeswax was like a brand of something.
Yeah, to get the walrus oil, you might have to make you a trip up to the Great White North or something.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Speaking of Great White North, it looks like there will be a Tremis Dynamics class in Kalispell, Montana in October. That's white and north.
I'd say you're getting close into wintertime for them.
The host up there said I was good till Halloween, and unfortunately trying to find a break in my schedule to go was providing difficult. As it is, I'm going to drive from Pennsylvania, whatever route I'm going to take to get to West Texas, teach a 3-day class there, and on the 4th day of that, I'm driving north to Montana, or well, however many days it takes me to get to Montana. Then doing a 2-day class there, staying for like 3 or 4, 5, 10, 20 more days, probably about 4 or 5, and then driving my ass from Montana back to Pennsylvania with stops at Defiant Munitions, Brownells, Midwest Industries, Mantis Technologies. I guess that's it.
Yeah, if your luck's anything like mine, about halfway to your destination there in Montana, the blizzard of the century would break out. And
probably the first time it snowed that early in a decade.
100 years. Yeah, that'd be my luck.
I mean, I got 4-wheel drive, but I don't know. It gets pretty rough up there.
I've got a friend in Montana, and he said 4-wheel drive is just an easier way to get stuck in some cases than 20-foot snow drifts.
Nice. Tom Hollyby, hello, sir. Tom, I thought of you today. I put a picture up on Facebook that Mike took at Fish a couple weeks ago, and the demo rifle I'm using doesn't have a sling on it, and I thought of you when I was looking at the photo.
Sure.
All right. Tom set the internet on fire talking about slings a month ago or so, and it was a topic of discussion last week. And my ear itches. All right. So I invited John on here because I wanted to talk about, I guess it's not really the training community. It's the gun guy people that think they're the training community.
All the above?
Yeah, all of them. It's not what I would call the healthy in a number of ways. And John and I talk all the time. Well, regularly. I don't know, all the time. That sounds a little stalkerish. But frequently we chat, and that comes up a bunch. And I was trying to figure out what to talk about this week before I had a bunch of update shit to come up. And I do have updates at the end in the question period. But I thought, man, fucking gun people are driving me nuts. And I had typed up a couple months ago, I think it was like February, a little rant. And it was like gun guy rant. And then I forgot about it. and gun people were bugging me. So I went to type it again and was like, oh, I've already typed this. So I posted it on the blog. And then I was like, I want to bitch about it. Who will bitch about it with me? John will.
Oh, if you only knew how many videos I've wanted to do. And no, I try to keep things PG rated.
Well, you do that a lot better than I do.
Boy, it ain't easy. Man, is it not easy. I wish I would have, instead of deleting all the ones that I've recorded and then decided not to upload, I should have just put them all into one folder and like saved them, but not actually deleted them, just for posterity.
Went back and watched him every now and again.
Yeah, but I figured the temptation might get the better of me, and I'd end up letting one slip. So it's better just to go ahead and delete them all together. And
yeah, if I didn't detest making videos so much, like the logistics of making the videos, I don't mind talking in front of a camera. But if I didn't detest making the damn videos, I would probably say things on the internet that would get me in trouble with somebody, like whether it be people I know who would be pissed, or the fucking law because they'd be pissed, take something out of context or whatever.
Of course.
Like, not having an easy access for me to just go live whenever I want while I'm on the go, because I don't really use my phone for that kind of bullshit, probably has saved me a bunch. I do sometimes type some things though, on like the book face, and then people get pissed. Usually the weekend before a bug out, like 2 days prior, I'll post something inflammatory and disappear in the woods for a couple of days and get back to like cell service, and I have 730 missed messages. Uh-oh.
Yeah, fortunately, I stay too busy sewing to have much time to actually do that. So that kind of by default helps keep me out of trouble. But like you said, sometimes the aggravation of setting everything up just to record a video is enough that by the time you get it all set up, you're just like, I don't even feel like bothering with it now.
Yep.
I think that's something that too many people don't actually understand, that, even my crappy videos, there's still a lot of setting stuff up and making sure the camera's right and this, that, and the other, and make it halfway watchable. So
Zach Bush says he'd be unemployed if he made a video every time he had a gun to slash mindset rant. I believe it. I've listened to him rant before.
I can relate to that.
So the latest one, well, the one that irked me when I wrote the rant that's on the blog, which I don't even have a link to. That's how unprepared I am for this kind of thing. Was the argument that folks were making on the interwebs that fighting with a firearm, while that's important, you should put your focus on being able to shoot small groups really fast first. And once you have mastered that, like, it almost sounded like that when I say mastered, they were talking like, IPSC Grand Dragon fucking master class shooter. Then you could go ahead and worry about using things like cover or moving, because everything up to, a group the size of a nickel, magazine dumping, from the holster in 0.2 seconds, everything below that, like, you shouldn't worry about. And like, I couldn't fucking take it. I was losing my shit.
I have yet to watch a single video of an actual gunfight, nor talk to a single person that's been in one. And having only been shot at once in my life, every single video and every person I've ever talked to, I haven't seen a single person ever stand still. No one. People tend to start moving.
Yeah.
Like the one time that I got shot at, it was close, but not like right by me, but it was oh, that was a bullet that just flew by. And as I'm thinking that was a bullet that flew by, I realized that my body was already diving behind the nearest tree trunk. And I was like, oh, that was pretty quick. I unconsciously did that. Watch police video shootouts. The bad guys typically don't stand there, because anybody that does stand there on the rare occasion is usually the one that hits the ground first and the fight's over with. So maybe just an idea, and I am not an instructor, I am not a trainer, I am not an authority on the subject. Let's just throw that out there ahead of time. But in my uneducated opinion, maybe practice and moving to cover, or at least concealment, is kind of a good idea. And then maybe worrying about being accurate with your gun is maybe a good idea.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I've never talked to anybody that's been in a gunfight that said they felt like they had a problem shooting fast. I have talked to a lot of people, including family members, who have said they felt like they had a problem shooting accurately. But nobody's ever said they had a problem shooting fast. The speed usually pretty much came on its own.
Yeah.
The accuracy part's what they kind of had to work at. You've probably already thought of this, and I don't even remember you and I had this discussion. Maybe we did, but I'll just throw it out there. As more stuff came out from the Elijah Dickens shooting in the mall up there in Indiana, I think there's some points about that whole thing that people haven't thought about. So when the round started popping, according to what I read, and it was supposedly his own statements and words, I could be wrong, he moved to cover, or concealment in this case, which we know was one of those big pillars, right?
Yeah.
And that's where he starts engaging the bad guy from. Well, at that point, the bad guy's already been shooting. There's people running and screaming, and it's indoors, it's loud, there's chaos and all that kind of stuff. And I'd be willing to bet you, if you could like somehow hold a seance and talk to the dead dirtbag, that he would probably, good chance, tell you that he had no idea he was even being shot at first until he got hit. And then after he got hit, he probably still didn't even know where the rounds were coming from, because if he looked around and all the chaos, he couldn't find the one guy peeking out from behind the little pole that kept popping rounds into him, just one at a time. Bang, bang, bang. He didn't have to mag dump him. He didn't have to do anything crazy. He just hid behind something and, for lack of a better term, and it's not the same, but started sniping the guy. So the concealment made it harder for the bad guy to figure out where he was even at. And if you did figure it out, by that time it was too late, because he'd already put accurate rounds on target, and it was game over. But I bet you couldn't get, and I could be wrong because I don't know the guy, but I bet Elijah Dickens probably couldn't tell you what his split times are.
I highly doubt it. I looked at a picture of his gun. It's pretty fucked up. Apparently,
did you notice that?
Yeah. What did he say? It was in a motorcycle wreck and like had fucking fucked up the sights on it and shit.
It ate up the factory plastic sights. So then he took a file and tried to file them down so there wasn't quite as many big chunks of plastic hanging off. So they were weirdly oblong, funky shapes.
I have a hunch he didn't bother buying a timer if he didn't bother changing the sights on that Glock.
Probably not. But he still got accurate hits.
Yeah. Some years back, beginning of the Wuhan, probably, over on my business page, there was I don't know what brought over a bunch of IPSC guys, and they're like, "Why don't you want to be able to shoot accurate fastly?" And I was like, "Who the fuck said I didn't want to be able to do that, or I didn't want anyone else to be able to do that?" And so like they used that. There's some sort of type of argument they used. That if I was saying that wasn't the most important thing, I was saying I didn't agree with it at all, and whatever type of fallacy that argument is. And what I couldn't seem to get through their head when we were talking was that with a finite amount of training time and money, where is it best spent? And they seemed to make it sound like they had unlimited budget, that both time and money budget or time and ammo budget, that they could just, I'm going to put 40 hours a week into just, cyclic rate with my pistol. And after I get that, I'll worry about the other shit. I'm like, man, I don't got 40 hours a week to do anything but like work stuff.
I mean, and I don't, because I've mentioned this before in some of my own videos, I don't mean to sound like that various training classes are not worthwhile. But I think the distinction, you have to make this in your own head, the difference between classes that are there for building fundamentals, and those that are fighting, because the two aren't the same. A regular square range class where you're standing still directly in front of the target standing perfectly still, have a lot of value. That's where you work on sight alignment, trigger press, reloads, malfunction clearances, safe handling and manipulation of the weapon, all those things. All things you have to do. But that's not fighting. They're two separate things. You got to do both. And that's why I've become such a big fan of your dot drill. I use that a lot, and I've had people come out, including most recently, and by most recently I mean last year, some police officers, including one in an instructor capacity, and I had them do the dot drill, and they kind of looked at me, and I was like, go ahead. And when I told them, your choice, 5 yards, 7 yards, whichever you want to do, again, I got kind of looked at, well, about 10 or 15 yards. Humor me. Let's do it at 7, and then if you feel good after that, we'll keep moving it back. We went from 7 yards to 5 yards, which was kind of the opposite direction that they were wanting to go. But after the first round, I don't know what's wrong. Well, I do, but I ain't going to say it out loud. I love that drill because it forces you to focus on slowing down and not just ripping off.
I've had the internet gurus, like I'll put a picture up when a student does well, and I usually tag it or comment, caption it with it's harder than it looks. People are like, what distance? Like with pistol, I'll say 3 yards. And they're like, how could you miss? And I was like, dude, I'll send you the target. You show me it all shot up. And nobody's ever.
I have humbled a few people with that one, including some folks that thought they were pretty high speed with their pistolas. And I like using it because, again, it forces you to slow down. It forces you to get the fundamentals right every single time. It starts taxing your eyes. It starts taxing your muscles. It starts doing all the things that nobody thinks it's going to do until it actually does it. And the slowing down part, I know this sounds counterintuitive when I say it, but if you're getting accurate upper thoracic hits, you don't have to mag dump into somebody because the rounds are going to be effective. Yes, there are always going to be that one dude that's like freaking, chugged a bottle of methamphetamines or something. And after you've gotten 2 or 3 good ones in the chest, it might be time to go for the head to flip the switch. But understanding then that, boy, on human beings, heads are really hard things to hit, even at close range, because they tend to be doing this number all the time. And you're going to be doing this number in the midst of them coming at you. And you've got to slow down and get those good hits. I saw a video one time and I wished I would have saved it and have sent it to you. It was some police officers that were on a task force of some kind, and they were riding through this neighborhood, and they weren't plain clothes, but they were in just regular clothes with their gear, not actual uniforms in a marked car. And they come across a guy that they knew was like bad dude, shooting up, killing people, had felony warrants, would shoot anybody and everybody for no reason kind of deal. They rolled up on him, and dude had a body camera on. They come out, they go up to him and arrest him, guns drawn. He reaches for a gun in his waistband. He gets it about right here. And the one police officer with the body camera who's already out, he fires 2 shots. Bang, bang. It was like a good hammer. And it didn't seem like a control pair. It seemed more like a hammer. And dude went face first into the ground. Somebody, and I think it was even part of the department, they went back and slowed the video down into slow motion. First round hits the guy center mass. The second round went through the edge of his shirt over his shoulder and didn't even hit him. And that was with a hammer. That was a bang, bang. The first round was so effective that he dropped that quickly in between those 2 shots. Yep. If that dude would have been bang, 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 every round after that first one would have been going off into the nether regions, doing who knows what to who knows who to who knows where. And that's something I don't think enough people give consideration to, especially as just an unarmed citizen. Yes, you want to drop the bad guy, but you also, depending on your jurisdiction, whatever rounds you end up sending into to the nether sphere could all be placed on the bad guy that forced you to do it. Where I'm at, that's kind of how it is. If you do something to cause people to do it, it's all on you, right? But you as the person that pull the trigger still have to live with that on your conscience the rest of your life. If you accidentally pop somebody else, there are times you have to take that risk. But my point, rambling on about all this, don't do it unnecessarily, right?
Yep.
It's bang, bang.
The ammo that you're carrying is likely finite. Like most folks don't roll around with like 6 fucking 30 round sticks on them. No. And like something that one of the guys in the comments mentioned, Steven, that at class, he kind of got told about slowing down. And it wasn't because like, hey man, quick, accurate hits are bad. It was your partner over there is having a problem with his gun. When you run out of bullets in that magazine, before you put more of them in it, nobody's going to be shooting. Your whole team is out of the fight. Buy him some time. As Jordan Winkler used to say, like you're buying him life. And so like the default response of, 35 rounds fast, you can pull the trigger doesn't need to be a priority. Like there's
not even in a team setting. Like I've seen actual groups of guys before, and we're transitioning obviously from handguns to rifles. I've seen groups of guys before doing a react contact, and everybody just mag dumps at what they think is the direction of the bad guy. Okay, in theory that sounds good. You want to get suppress the fire out and get fire superiority. And then I've watched videos where all of a sudden you could hear a pin drop, and it's the loudest sound in the world. Is 5 or 6 guys all frantically trying to reload their gun at the same time, and nothing going down range. Because what you're missing from that scenario, because it's on the range and in training, is while it's quiet there on your side, it's likely not going to be quiet on the other side, because them rounds are going to be coming, especially if somebody's already initiated the ambush on you. You better make them shots count, unless you specifically know where it's coming from, and then you can suppress it, and then you need to be calling it out right behind that tree. and then
Yeah.
keep them hammered, and that gives to everybody else time to
Before
go
that dude disappears because you gave him all the time in the world with a bunch of empty guns.
Yep. Or he's poking up going pink, pink, pink. Okay, well, I got half their team in that reload. Now I'll wait for the next reload, and then I'll get the other half.
Yeah. Somebody had commented up earlier. I'm not scrolling back to find it. That they didn't own a shot timer. Zach had said guys that own more than one shot timer rarely carry a gun outside of competition. And not to bash competition guys in mass, because some of them are pretty squared away and go there for the free practice, free because it's cheap. But I was accused of hating the shot timer, and I've owned more than one shot timer, not because I needed a bunch for shit, but because they tend to die after a while. But something Scott Wexler mentioned in the comments was that you can use a shot timer to induce stress. Maybe you can induce stress with a shot timer. And I say maybe not because it won't, but some people allow it to induce stress. So in day 3 pistol and day 3 carbine, we do a drill, which I have a video in the drill box, the RTG Top Gear. We don't use the RTG targets anymore. I use my own target. It works out way better in that I don't have to worry about having a supply of those on hand, and nobody out there can make their own because I have the only template. But everybody shoots it under a timer, and people think that it's a game, and like we've gone gamey, and I'm pitting this guy against that guy, and I tell everyone what the record is for the drill. And again, it has nothing to do. I don't fucking know who owns the record. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what the record is. It's not important to me. It's getting people to fuck up because they let their own mind play games on them. And it works for some people. Some people are like, yeah, I don't care about that. And they usually do very well. And the folks that are like, oh, there's a record. I can get a record. And I give a winner's patch out, man. You give trinkets like fucking give kids lollipops. Like, oh, I'm giving away a winner's patch, and people will add a pile of their own stress, just like that timer does. So you can use the timer in a way it wasn't intended, and get some good results from it. And I've used the timer for my own practice because I feel like it's my duty as an instructor to try different techniques against each other and see if there is any of the different measurable variables, and if they're better, the same, worse, and time is one of them. But like some people just live on the timer.
Right. It can be a good personal tool to measure yourself and progression, etc. My problem with them is when people become so focused on it that it's just their split times. Like that is their whole goal in life, to see how fast they can do split times and reloads. And 99% of the times it's just so that they can look good putting up a 3-second Instagram clip.
I have found that when you're real good at something, that you tend to make that important.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People just flock to it like, oh my God, look how awesome they are. I got to go emulate that. Well, why? That's the question I like to ask is why? Explain to me why. If you've got a good explanation with it, then that's fine. Rock on with it. But 90% of the time, the only explanation is, well, because they did it. Okay, well, why were they doing it? I don't know. Well, then why are you doing it? I mean, I literally cheesed a guy off in the comments section on one of my videos one time because he made some big, long, rambling rant, kind of contrary to some stuff I was saying. And my reply to him was one word. I said, why? In response to what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then he come back and give another big, long diatribe. And then my response was, okay, well, aren't you going to say anything else? Well, no. Well, that's not what I expected. Oh, you expected me to argue with you just to argue with you. Just because I said why doesn't mean I was accusing you of being wrong. I just wanted you to be able to articulate and explain why you were saying what you were saying. If you're doing it and it works for you, knock yourself out. The reason that you're getting so upset, though, is because you want everybody else to do it exactly like you're doing it and don't want anybody to disagree with you. And you're just cheesed because I actually made you think about it and explain why you're doing what you're doing the way you're doing. It's amazing how so many people don't like that. They don't like having to articulate the why. I've said before on that similar note, when it comes to following, people who've been there and done that. Okay, been where, done what? Did they do it right, or did they just get lucky? And could it have been done better? And where they were at and what they were doing, is it applicable to me?
Yeah, those are all fucking important questions.
They've been there and done that. There's a whole lot of questions that come after the been there and done that. I mean, the guy could be a freaking Medal of Honor winner, and maybe he's just completely ate up, and that was the day that God smiled on him and said, today's your lucky day. Everything's going to just go perfect for you.
Yep,
okay,
could be.
Great. I'm glad it did. But that doesn't mean that I should just blindly follow him because he's been there and done that.
Because something worked once. Bob H says low round training, 3 to 5 rounds. I'm digging where he's going with this. I've even gone to this year what I'd like to call no round training. So I have not fired a single round of ammo, not for work. So obviously, as a firearms instructor, there are times I need to shoot on the range. But I have shot less this year. Like so far, what are we, June something? Less total rounds this year than I would have shot in back when I was doing the competition thing. Less than I would have shot in 20 minutes on a practice session. But I've been doing a bunch of dry practice. So like we're getting to, like you can do no round training and still improve on all them things. Maybe not like recoil management, although like I ain't fucking shoot anything that has recoil to begin with, like 9mm, 5.56 recoil management. But and like to the point that like this weekend, I'm running a no fire class, and fucking most of it isn't even done with like a sim gun. Like we saved the sim gun for like 2 drills, and the rest of it's all done with Blackbeards.
Dry fire is a thing. I mean,
it can have a big benefit, and you can work on things that aren't just little group rocket fast pace, because there's no holes at the end of the target at the end. Like you don't. There's no going and checking. So it's all the other stuff that you can work on, which I think people suck at. I had a point with that, and I think I got sidetracked. Oh, same fella said that shot timers are I was tying it back into him. Shot timers help you measure against a standard. And the problem is people look at those standards. On my view on this, they look at the standards as a 2-pronged thing. And it generally works like a seesaw. The faster you go, the more your accuracy dips, and vice versa. However, if you're going to measure standards, I believe it needs to be like a triangle. And one of those points, obviously, you've got the 2 that are speed and accuracy, and the other one is movement, which is why in the pistol qualification that we've set up, there is a timer. Like you have a par time. You should be able to do this in this amount of time. And you should be this accurate or better. And you should move this much or further. And if you don't pass all 3 of those, like that stage is failed. I mean, there's 6 stages in order to get the gold dog tag, which TJ, I believe, is the only person in here that has it. Because I think that those 3 things are important. And I can work on the movement part with a blue gun. Like I don't even need to press the trigger, and like it doesn't have to be part of my dry practice regimen. I tried arguing that point with the the guys on the business page a couple years back, and they were to have none of it. Force on force was irrelevant, and dry practice involves a trigger press every time. That was their answer.
Well, I mean, rock on if that works for you, but one day I'm going to have to stop and do a video on some of my friends and I, the little, I don't want to even call it a qualification, the little standards drill that we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time involved in it at all. It's at your own pace, and it's strictly, can you get this many rounds on the target from these different distances and positions? Kneeling, standing, prone, most of it from behind cover, that sort of thing. And I emphasize the behind cover thing because once you start putting cover into the situation, suddenly that perfect range stance that everybody wants you to get into gets thrown out the window because you can't assume that perfect range stance when you're trying to fit your body behind things to keep being seen or get shot. So there's a target. We're at X amount of distance. Give me 5 rounds, all center mass. They don't even have to be tight. Just put it in the chest where juicy stuff's at. And it's more of just a standards thing to try to let everybody maintain. Now, for fun, we might do it non-stop, like you shoot from this position, do these rounds, run to the next position, shoot and do the rounds, run to the next. But there's still no time involved. It's just, and then that's a fun way of doing it. And especially if you do it down here in July and August, you can get your heart rate up a little bit. You can get this stuff that really stings and burns a lot when it gets in your eyes and makes your eyes blurry. You can get that kind of running down in your face. Just little distractions like that are fun to play with. We like doing that.
Something else Bob H mentions. Bob H, do I know you know you? Because good comments. I don't know what H is short for, so but you don't have to put it out there. I'm just wondering if we know each other. But he says force on force is king. Shot timers next best thing. I don't know it's the next best thing, but it's a pretty good thing. Can add stress. However, you can train yourself out of both of those things giving you stress. With a shot timer, if you don't care about what the timer says, you usually beat all the people that do. And in force on force, it's more of a negative, I believe. So there isn't a hard and fast rule, but people go, oh, it's just the airsoft BB or it's just the UTM round. I can live through that. It's just going to sting for a minute, but I'm going to go shoot that dude and then I win. And they'll do stupid stuff in order to win, even though they're willing to take some rounds on the way, which, yeah, I get it. I could come up with some scenario where you're saving, the child from the maws of a lion or whatever, and you're like, I'm willing to take the rounds. The Secret Service does it for the president. Okay. But for the most part, training yourself, people will train themselves to where force on force doesn't bother them, right. Which sucks. I hate it when they get that way. It bugs me. I don't have a fix for it.
An easy way that I found back in the day, if you want to induce mental stress on somebody, and this is going to sound cheesy and it might not work for everybody, but I've seen it work on a whole lot of people, is put up 5 or 6 targets and just either number each one or put a different color above each one, and then take that same number of 3x5 cards and write a number on each card or that color on each card, mix it up, flip it over, and then or just spread them all out on the table and tell a person, okay, flip over 3 cards and get 2 rounds on each of those targets. You'll see people flip over the cards and they'll be looking at them. They'll be looking at the targets. They'll go to shoot and they're looking back down at the cards and then they're looking back at the target and it's their brain just, and I can 100% say that because the very first time I did it, That's exactly what happened to me. My brain went one blue six, and I went one bang bang. Wait, was that blue or red? What the frig? And
Yeah.
from that point on, my brain was just totally all cattywampus, and I was like, "Holy crap! That just screwed my brain 10 ways from Sunday."
Yep. There's a not everything works for everybody. I think the guys that have taken my day 3 classes figure that out. But like those classes are based around the idea, both the pistol and the carbine, that sometime before the end of the day, I'm going to get inside your head and make you fuck yourself up. And it's not like, oh, it's a chance for Gary to belittle us. Like, fuck, dude, I could do that when you got pulled into the parking lot. The point is to say, all right, we found something that gets inside your head. Now, what can we do to alleviate that? Like, how can we, strengthen our mental resolve, or whatever catchphrase people want to use,
Right.
to not let ourselves be the thing that gets inside our head.
Yep. It's easy to do.
Eli, hello, sir. I didn't forget you, by the way. He jumped in there.
I don't think we even touched on half the things you wanted to talk about tonight.
No, not really. I mean, I guess since we were bitching, I did want to mention Mike Fiore did say he also has a gold dog tag, and he is in the chat, and I neglected it to remember, so I'm giving him his props. Jay Dressler did pop in, says he's doing a bunch of airsoft, and he checked out the Unit Solutions rifle. I filmed a video on the Unit Solutions rifle. I have a bunch of the empty ammo cartridge things that go in a magazine over here. If I was going to outfit a whole bunch of people, I would probably do that versus UTM. You'll see in the video. Like, now, if I ever fucking published a video, I'm gonna edit shit. But I wanted to say hi to Jay as well. And I guess we can probably jump right to the questions if we don't go too deep into them, since we're an hour in.
That's fine. I'm good.
All right. And I think that the first 2 questions came from someone that watches your videos, at least enough to phrase the question this way. What is the most important skill lacking by the armed, prepared citizen? I'll let you go first, then I'll give my answer. They might be the same. I know.
No, I think our answers are both pretty close to the same. And bear with me a minute here. I know sometimes I can get long-winded, but if any of you watch my channel, I talk a lot about guns and gear and stuff, right? It's because that's what I've personally worked with the most over my life. And I am not an expert on any of it, but it's what I do know a little bit about. When it comes to the gear, I mean, I kind of make it for a living. So I know a little bit about it, and reasons why I make some of the stuff is because I've used a lot of the stuff. I've been shooting my entire life. I learned, like, my first center fire rifle that I ever fired was my dad's 1973 Colt SP1. I mean, when he had to still hold it up for me to shoot, I went from 22 long rifle to 5.56.
That's a jump.
That's what I grew up on. Okay. So that all said, it's why you hear me try to reiterate in videos as often as I remember to do it. There's a whole lot of other things that you need to be paying attention to and working on acquiring when it comes to being prepared for stuff. And it's a 2-pronged thing: everyday type preparedness and like grid down, holy crap, there's zombies walking the street type situation. I think you got to have both covered. Some things overlap, some things don't. But food, water, medical stuff, clothing, I mean, all those things, but then the actual practice and skill to go with it. You've got to practice all of those things just like you do using your firearm, your gear, etc. And one of the ones that I see that concerns me the most is, and this is where I think you and I are probably on the same page, is the food aspect of being able to eat because being able to eat is more than just having food. It's okay, do you have food on hand that you can eat right now? What's it going to do to your digestive system when you eat it? Because it's not your normal diet, i.e., I can have 2 years worth of freeze dried stuff stored up. But if I went from eating my wife's home cooking every day to a steady diet of freeze dried food for 2 or 3 meals a day, by about day 2 or 3, I'm gonna probably be wanting some freaking Tums and Imodium because it's probably gonna wreck me until my system gets used to it.
Yeah. I got a good buddy that just went from vegetarian to, well, more of a keto slash paleo type diet. And yeah, it played havoc with him as he went from
I mean,
no meat to mostly meat.
can you grow and harvest your own food, be it meat, vegetables, whatever? Because throwing seeds in the ground doesn't mean food pops up.
It does in Sim World or Sim City
Well,
or Sim Farm or whatever the fuck it is.
it does, but I can tell you from having done it myself, and especially from my cousin doing it on his very large piece of property, man, there's times that it takes a while for that food to come up and be edible, like weeks, months. You better have something you can eat to hold you over till that food comes up, and then you better be prepared. Well, what if you get 2 months of drought and don't get any food from it? What happens if, oh, I don't know, it's not like this has actually happened. You go to bed one night going, wow, that's going to be a lot of food I've got to pick in the next day or two. And you literally get up the next morning and half of it is covered in a fungus that's completely destroyed half the food overnight. That literally happened to one of my best friends. He absolutely lost his mind. Fortunately, he didn't have to rely on it for, food. He could still go to the grocery store, but it was
There's
just
a lesson. There's a lesson learned there.
The point of, holy crap, that can happen in a hurry. If we have to do this long-term grid down type deal, which, it's what some of us prepare for, but we pray never happens because we know how freaking bad it's going to suck. The food thing's going to be a big deal. And it's hard to pick one particular thing that I think people are lacking in, because I think they lack in a lot of areas, but I also think, and we're kind of going in circles here, but I think sometimes people put too much focus and emphasis on other things, on any one particular thing. Like, one of the big things that I see people put focus on without any context whatsoever. That's another big thing. If you ever watch my channel, I'm big on context, because context makes all the difference in the world of what we're talking about.
Sure does.
What we're getting at is like, physical fitness. I don't think any of us will argue that having good physical fitness and being in good shape is a bad idea. I think we can all agree it's a good idea. We probably should be in the best shape we can. But the best shape we can is completely different from person to person, depending on your given circumstances, a buddy of mine who wrecked both knees in the Marine Corps. If you want him to get out and run and do deadlifts, it ain't going to happen. Now, he's still perfectly functional in a whole bunch of other ways, and is somebody I sincerely hope to have with me should things ever go bad. But if you looked at him, you wouldn't think it right away. Now, he's taking measures to try to improve his situation, but there's no way to articulate that unless you actually know him. So people would just, oh, well, he's dead. Well, not necessarily. There might be more there than you know is going on. I've had 2 back surgeries and have got some fancy titanium parts on my back. I try to work out and stay in the best shape I can, but the best shape I can be in is not going to be the best shape that maybe, you or somebody else is going to be in. Doesn't mean I'm not capable or ineffective, or that you're not capable and effective. People get too focused on projecting their own idea of what something is onto everybody else and not taking into account everybody else's, deal. And one of the things like, oh, or you can't run 2 miles, then you're screwed. Well, okay. Explain to me as an armed prepared citizen, when the world's completely gone to crap, where am I going to want to run 2 miles to? Because let's just say we're in a situation where there's bad guys and there's shooting going on. If there's shooting going on, running's going to be the very last thing I'm going to do unless it's running from point of cover to point of cover. I'm not going to try to cover 2 miles, because what you're going to do if you think you're just going to run everywhere is you're going to run into trouble without noticing the trouble. You better start practicing that real slow, stealthy, sneaky walk. And can I walk slow and stealthy with a 60-pound ruck on my back instead of running 2 miles with a 60-pound ruck on my back? Maybe I need to just slow down and not run into a problem that I didn't see because I was just
context. Why would we have context?
Right. But that's what you hear people say. Oh, well, you can't run X number of miles or whatever. Well, you know what? When I was 18, I could run 4 miles and not even think about it.
I've had students in class in wheelchairs. You know what they're not doing? Fucking running anywhere. Is my advice to them? Well, just die.
Roll over and die. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. Nope, it's not. So
I guarantee you one thing. I don't want that dude in that wheelchair shooting at me.
Yeah.
Because chances are he's probably got a pretty stable firing platform to pop rounds off, and he's probably pretty accurate if he's practiced much.
Mike Fiore said context lenses. I don't know if he invented that just now, but hashtag molecules, I'm going to use that.
Oh, I'm going to steal that 10 ways from Sunday. I'll try to remember to give Mike credit for it, but that's beautiful.
All right, the next question, and mine was ways to eat. That's what I wrote. It was my simple note to myself. And it wasn't like, even in my article that Crystal linked, I bitched it. When the world got scary, people they started prepping more. And they bought a 5-gallon bucket and filled it full of wheat, and then have no fucking clue what to do with a 5-gallon bucket of wheat. And it wasn't even like that short term. My thought was, okay, so you buy yourself food. I don't care if you got a room or a whole floor of your house full of food, and it's got enough for you and 10 people to eat 3 meals a day for the next 500 days. What are you going to eat on day 501? Like, there is a longer term thing than I don't have food to eat next year on this date here. I have a plan. It's to go buy some more between now and then. The plan becomes different when going and buying it is not the plan anymore. And I think people need to work on that.
No, that's absolutely. And Eli's Lost in the Woods just brought up a good point that I've tried to point out. One of the best things I think you can do as far as part of your physical preparedness, and I understand everybody can't do it depending on their location. Some people get looked at funny, but get you a big ruck, even if it's bigger than what you plan to use or normally use, load it up with stuff safely. Don't just throw 80 pounds on your back and start out the very first day if you ain't done it very much. But get a backpack, start putting weight in it, and just start walking a lot and doing rucks. Now, you got to make sure you force yourself you're not just taking a leisurely stroll where you're just kind of enjoying the view and stopping to look at the flowers. Do it like you got a drill sergeant calling cadence and you're diddy bopping walking along, but go for a mile, 2 mile walk 2 or 3 times a week with a big heavy ruck on your back. I think people completely underestimate just how many calories you can burn with that and how many different muscles in your body you actually work doing that.
Yeah, it's a
practical skill.
You'll kill a bunch of birds with that stone. You'll get more fit. You'll learn how to ruck. You'll learn why your fucking ruck sucks, how to adjust it and set it up. All kinds of good stuff there.
Yep, you can kill a whole bunch of birds with one stone on that one, and it's a practical thing that you may eventually at some point have to do, far more so than running 2 miles anywhere.
All right, next questions we got.
We could stay on that all day long.
We could. And this one is similar, and I think the person that wrote it probably realized that the answer wasn't going to be what they wanted to ask the second question. What's the most important tactical skill lacking by the armed prepared citizen? My answer, you went first last time. I'll give you my answer this time, and it'll be quick too. The ability to work with a team or a teammate. Teammates, we'll call it. Real fast groups that are real tiny. We got that. That's important to people. However, I'd rather have two guys who shoot slow and maybe even not that accurate than one dude who shoots quicker and more accurate. Or better yet, four guys who suck at shooting. To me, teammates are important. And I don't think a lot of people spend enough time working with them tactically or even non-tactically.
You get a couple of guys, they might not be the, fastest gun in the West. They might not be, freaking super sniper, but if they've worked together enough where they know how to effectively lay down fire and fire a maneuver on a threat together, and have done it enough where they just kind of can do it without a whole lot of communication, that is not something you want to face on a good day.
Agreed. Hell, it could be someone who's good enough to say, the bad guys are coming from over here on my side of the building.
Yeah. I'll go with what you said, working with teammates / working stealthily. Everything it seems like everybody wants to mimic is what so much was done in the last 20 years in the global war on terror. Everybody wants to mimic the high-speed door kickers and all the direct action stuff. And so few people actually give thought to how about we just be slow and sneaky as a team? Like 2 or 3 guys that can move around quietly, move around unseen. As an armed prepared citizen in that kind of situation, bad grid down environment, if I'm actually having to do that kind of stuff, I'm a firm proponent and believer, could be completely wrong. Again, I'm no expert, but in my humble opinion, I'm going to be doing a lot more, for lack of a better word, reconnaissance than anything else. I want to be able to know what's going on around me without anybody else knowing that I know what's going on around me, so that I can detect a threat before it's here.
Yeah.
I'd rather know that it's over yonder somewhere. And that relies on me being able to just sneak around, whether it's being able to get a couple of guys and quietly move around your subdivision that you've, secured, if, God willing, you're able to, or your rural piece of property or whatever. Focus more on, and I am 100% biased on this, I will admit it up front. I am very privileged to have an uncle that you've met who was a LERP in the Rangers in Vietnam. And I have taken a lot from what he did, because I see that as being far closer to what we're going to be doing than what all the direct action door kickers have been doing the last 20 years, in that he operated as a small 4 or 5 man team who didn't have support, didn't have resupply. Their whole goal was to gather information and not get into a fight at all unless it was a fight that they specifically initiated. And the only time they would initiate it is if they were almost certain that they could do it and end it and be the winner within seconds. Otherwise, we just...
I did inventory here like last week of stuff around my house. What I could not find was a direct line to QRF, no direct line to any sort of fast movers or artillery. Man, being sneaky sounds real good when I ain't got that other shit.
It does. And I mean, that's all these guys want to emulate. And then when you start getting into all that, everything changes. Like the gear you're using, how you're using it, why you're using it, all that stuff start changing because at that point, having my super fast accessible super duty speed reload maggies are far less important than just being able to actually secure and protect those magazines and know that they're going to be there if I need them because I'm going to be crawling around, moving around through stuff, around stuff.
I get a lot of questions,
Speed
Mike.
reloads ain't going to be high on the menu even if I do get in a fight.
Guys, like, are those flaps on your pouches? Yeah, keeps the magazines in. But you have to open the flap. Yeah, I know. I got this one mag pouch that doesn't have a flap.
And if the guy is 100 yards away and I'm properly utilizing cover, opening that flap up, the time it takes to do that's going to be irrelevant because hopefully I'm putting accurate rounds on him from behind cover that's stopping the bullets. And it gives me that extra time, and the distance gives me extra time, which is why, oh, you're never going to shoot anybody that far away. Well, no, not right now. But if the time comes where there ain't no calling 911, if you know the guy that's 300 yards away is coming to kill you and take your stuff or is already shooting at you, maybe it's a good idea to have practiced actually being able to hit him at 200 or 300 yards. And then by doing that, guess what? The distance gives you time. I could go down a whole nother road on weapons choice and ballistics on that exact same topic, but we would be here all night long.
Yes, we would. All right, next question. When is John opening up orders again? I think we already addressed that earlier.
We covered that earlier, yes. I will be opening up orders as soon as I am significantly caught up from where I'm at. That's when I'm opening them back up.
Adam Hall, that's awesome. But his flaps hide the red anodized Terran tactical floor plates. That's awesome.
This is true.
All right. Next one was, what is the best training tool we don't have? And when I read that, I read it as somebody asking me, what piece of gear should I go buy to train with? I didn't know if he meant like when I would read it in the first person, what is the best training gear I don't have? I'm not necessarily even sure what that is because I try to accumulate things since it is my job. So I read it as like, hey, you tell me something I should be buying to train with. And my answer is a Mantis Blackbeard / Cert pistol. Because you can, for the cost of whatever, 200 and some bucks, you can get a lot more value out of that 200 bucks than you can a lot of other training devices. I did put a link because we do sell Mantis shit. What's your thinking there, John? What should somebody buy as a training tool that isn't the standard buy a gun and bullets?
I don't see. That's actually a tough one to answer because again, everybody's situation is so different that because like the first thing that comes to my mind would be your own steel target. And the reason why is because then you can focus on hit the steel. If I can hit it at 5 yards, if I can hit it at 10 yards, if I can hit it at 100 yards, if I can hit it at 300 yards, whatever. It just gives you that instant feedback of I hit it.
Yep.
And
you can shoot it a bunch. Like I like cardboard. I love shooting cardboard targets. But you shoot it a number of times and you're no longer getting, there's no feedback. There's no new holes. You're just shooting through the old hole. You don't even know if you're hitting because if you are hitting, it's going through a hole. So the steel is, so reusable.
Right. And I like the steel because unless I'm right up close to it, my brain doesn't get to focus exactly where I hit it at. Right. So I'm just focusing each shot I'm not trying to hit the previous shot. Each shot I'm trying to make the target ring. I know I got a hit on it. Then in my mind, that correlates to, okay, I could hit a man-sized target at that distance. That it goes with my whole minute of man philosophy. Yes, you always want to be as accurate as you can. You always want to improve your skills. But just because you can't shoot nickel-sized groups at 5,000 yards doesn't mean you're ineffective. Doesn't mean your gun's ineffective. If your gun and you can hit a man-sized steel target at 100 yards, your minute of man, that's going to be, fighting effective for 90% of people in situations. The problem in saying that, though, is not everybody has a place that they could use their own steel. Like a lot of ranges won't let you bring your own steel. You can't set it up, can't use it right. So that makes it a hard choice for a lot of people. So I probably have to fall back with something like what you said, some kind of system that would let you enhance your dry fire,
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go. I guess really you'd have to answer that question with a question, be like, well, what do you have now? And let's go from there.
Right.
Guys been talking in the comments, good stuff. What size steel do I recommend? I like the whatever the fuck the shoot steel size is, because they're not so big like a full IPSC target. So you got to be a little more precise even when you're trying to be quick. But I don't have to fucking drag that. I've used some bigger, like IPSC size ones for shotgun classes. The smaller shoot steel one is much nicer to fucking carry down range and set up. And if you buy that target, it mounts like either the rifle or the pistol ones. It mounts on a 2x4. I know a guy who has some target stands that fold up, and you can carry the steel in one hand and the target stand and the 2x4 in the other, and walk them down to set them up. Just shameless plug.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I've got my own private range, so our steel just stays out on it. Now, I've actually run into a little bit of a problem because my steel that I haven't been able to get any of the new fancy shoot steels like yours, but I've got two steel and they're both down right now. I've got both of them back got one of them in 2011 and one of them in 2012. The one that I used the most was one I got in 2012, and that was from Action Target, and it was one of their 3/4 IPSC targets and a steel stand, and it had the little hostage flipper on it.
Yep.
And I guess about a year and a half ago, the hostage flipper finally broke. And the way it broke wasn't even on the target. It's got a little L-shaped piece that goes in the round part on the back of the main target. Part of the bottom of it broke off from it, slammed or something, and it just fell out. And then last year, right before Christmas, the rest of the steel body, the part where it bolts onto the stand, just finally cracked and fell apart. So we got to get that re-welded and put back up, see if we can squeeze a little bit more life out of it. But I'd like to get.
Well, I was gonna say that when I'm down there in September, is it September? I'm coming down to Florida.
I think so.
I'd weld that for you. But
one of my buddies can weld too, so not quite as good as you, but he can do it. I mean, I can guerrilla weld it if I needed to.
That's usually how they break again.
Right. It wouldn't be pretty, but it'd be strong. But I'd like to find somebody that would love a video on a steel target. I'd be happy to shoot the crap out of one for somebody if they wanted to send me a new one. If anybody happens to be watching them.
Hopefully Evan Moyer of shootsteel.com is listening.
That'd be awesome.
I remember he and I talking to each other about you some time back. 2023 is probably a year and a half ago. Regardless, I know that he knows of your existence, so he should send you.
That's not saying much. Most people do learn of my existence, and they're like, "Oh God, why'd I have to learn that?"
Yeah, well, Evan and I are friends, so once he sinks that low.
Well, to answer the question that somebody asked earlier, I like a 3/4 size steel target, like a 3/4 size IPSC target, but also there's something to be said for just a simple 6-8 inch round plate. That falls back to the whole aim small, miss small mantra. You get yourself having to focus on that little small steel. I like painting. This is where I differ, and since we're on steel, everybody likes to paint their steel white so they can see it and see the hits on it. I used to do that. And then when I went to my first class with my good friend NC Scout / brush beater, when we did his scout course and he had his steel targets at 500 yards, not only were they at 500 yards, they were just inside the tree line and the brush line, and they were all painted green and brown. And green and brown targets inside the brush line at 500 yards, you had to look for them to find them.
You're going to work for that.
And the whole point of that was, yeah, and a lot of your adversaries very well may be wearing colors that make them hard to see. You might want to get used to trying to find them. And then, of course, my, at the time, 18-year-old son with his 18-year-old eyes, he proceeds to take his little cheap bolt rifle and go, ping, 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 show off. But
I have a product coming that I'm not going to mention here on the live chat, but I will mention it as soon as it gets here that would help with that. And I'll talk it up when it comes.
I started painting mine green or brown
just
to make it that much harder to see it at any given distance. And also it helps hide my hits on the steel. That way I don't get focused on where my hits are at. I just keep focused on hitting aiming center mass.
I like it. All right, last question. What's going on with the muster? I'm not trying to put John on the spot, but if he wanted to get in his car and drive it up here for the muster, he is officially invited.
I officially want to. Whether I can or not is yet to be determined.
But if he can, I will let everyone know. In the meantime, we have added some sponsors and we have added some instructors. I'll mention the sponsors first because I've been kind of talking a little bit about them over in their social medias. The very first sponsor we have was bulletin.net. Mike is giving away free memberships to everyone that comes. And everyone that doesn't come also gets a free membership because that's how bulletin.net works. First Wave Holsters is going to give away holsters. What are they giving away? I don't know, but some type of holsters. I believe there is going to be a 1 or 2 things from True North Concepts. Just figured that out right before I walked up here, so I haven't even typed that up yet. Ammo Supply Warehouse, I believe, is giving away, I think Becker said 2 500-round packs of 9mm. Defiant Munitions is giving away some 9mm TCX, including some subsonic. That'll become important in a moment. YMI Tactical Gear, a competitor of John's, although is anyone really a competitor when they both make as much as they can and there's customers who can't get on the waiting list?
My goal is to have good gear, whether it's mine or somebody else's, just have good gear and go use it.
Right on. He is going to be here with a table of stuff and giving something away. I just don't know what. Midwest Industry says they're going to send a pile of rails and sights. And the biggest thing to give away so far, Susquehanna Valley Firearms, my local FFL, who was also a Class 3 dealer, is giving away a Q Erector 9 suppressor, silencer, can, whatever you want to call it. Those are like $700 to $900, depending if you find a deal or their MSRP. They are donating one of those to give away. Smokes, that's a question. Yan is coming. Whether he's coming with smokes or not is I haven't asked.
Did you ever hear back from him about the website?
Yes, he was checking on it and thanked me for letting him know.
Yeah, because I had some people asking about it. Are they out of business? I'm like, no, I don't think they're out of business. Well, nothing's working on the website. And I'm like, I wonder if they know.
You know what? They aren't web guys, just like me. The Iroquois Foreskin says, when is the muster again? August 5th. If any of my moderators want to send a link to that, they can. That would be Mike or Crystal. I probably, you know what? I have a link right here. I can copy it. Maybe.
While you're doing that, to answer Crystal's question, yes, there is a chance. I would dearly love to do that. The question will just be, where am I at work-wise and family-wise and all that when it comes rolling around? Because if I'm still super far behind, I would honestly feel a little bit guilty of taking 4 or 5 days off to go have fun and not be getting people their orders that they've been waiting a long time for. So
Can't
we
really
will see.
That logic. All right, and then the bigger news, we have some instructor news. I know what some of the instructors are going to be teaching, and we've added some. So on my list, Sonny Pazikas is coming. Don't know what he's teaching. He probably doesn't know either. Last year, he told me what he was going to teach, and I said, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, and he changed his mind. So he's free to do that again as well. Jerry Nuss of Ascending Variable is coming, and he is teaching a block on team selection and buy-in. And we've chatted a little bit offline about that subject. It's going to be great, I'm sure. Zach Bush, who was here in the chat from Definitive Training Solutions, he is doing a block I am calling Buckshot Sniper. Bob H. asked, do your classes require a prerequisite? Some of them do. If it does, they are listed on the actual site or on the class description. Some of them are safe gun handling skills. Some are a previous class of mine. And some of them, it says like day 3 pistol. It says you should have taken dynamic pistol or advanced fighting pistol from tactical response or shooter fighter matrix from Sonny Pazikas. If you had any of those 3, it meets the prereq. So that happens. So back to the instructors. Dave Biggers from the Dave Biggers Experience is coming, and I'm calling his 1-2 World Wars. That's his block of instruction. Matt Wyke of Wyke Fitness will likely be talking about fitness, but we haven't really discussed the details. Andrew Meisker will be doing a block of instruction called Meisker's Magic of Medicine, similar to what he did last year. Mike Fiore is on our list for Bob H. Probably fine with Pat Mac classes as a prereq. Mike did not tell me what he's planning yet. I am going to do a block of instruction on dry practice, and then we have the 2 big announcements. I have added 2 other instructors this very day. We will also get Calvin Lim and Jay Gibson will be at the muster doing whatever the fuck they want to do. Mike Fiore is doing writing after action reports. Like that's training after action reports, not shooting after action reports. I guess they're similar. Yes, Jay and Calvin today. I called them the olive drab green hornet and his sidekick Kato. All right, so that's what's going on with the muster. We got shit to give away, and people are coming. Also, this year, the big piece de resistance at the end, we're going to do a panel of instructors with the Q&A session. So it'll be like everyone sitting up there and people launching questions, and somebody will answer them. Maybe there'll be an argument over the answers, and then there'll be like a fist fight. Or we'll do like a UTM, quick draw at the OK Corral.
Or just pass out Nerf bats to everybody.
I like it.
Then they just wail away on each other with the Nerf bats, and hilarity will ensue.
Well, I've heard that Jay can take a man's head off with a Nerf bat.
Impressive.
Yeah, Adam, like I told you, I was going to work on getting you up here to fucking Pennsylvania. Like, what else do I got to do? I added Jay. Next live stream will be next Wednesday. And I don't know if I'll have a guest next Wednesday, but I did allude last week that there will be a surprise guest coming up. He did pop in earlier in the chat section. Someday in the future, as soon as we figure out which Wednesday will work, I will have Mr. Risky Krisky on here as a guest. We're both going to wear masks. I just made that up on the spot.
Somebody asked me about that one time, and I'm like, my face has been out there far too long and far too many different ways to even pretend like people don't know who I am.
Well, I've been asked to wear a mask. It has nothing to do with hiding my identity. It was because they just didn't want me to want to see my face.
I have had that a few times. I have. In fact, they've even had one person, can you just like pan the camera down to like from here to here?
I just want to show my calves.
I don't even want to do that, honestly.
That's the best part I got. Adam, yes, that Mr. Risky Krisky, the YouTube dude. We have a mutual friend who was kind enough to introduce us virtually so that we could make a schedule. We just have to figure out what his schedule works for a Wednesday, which Wednesday it is. All right, that's what I got. John, you got anything you'd like to give him before we sign out of here?
No, I got a couple of things rolling in the back of my head that I want to get up on my channel soon. In fact, one of them just come up today. Since we're just going off on stuff, I'll close it out for you on this one. Be very careful of who you take advice and thoughts from, and including me or anybody else. Like, take everything anybody's saying with a grain of salt and do your own formulations, right? Because I'll say this for a fact, and I know this for a fact from having been involved in this general industry for a long time, like better than 20 years. There are people out there who will lead you to believe that they're the same mindset as you, the same thought process as you, or everything else. But they really aren't. They're just full-fledged capitalists, and they're happy to take your money. Now, I'm all about being a full-fledged capitalist. I just think you should be honest about what you're doing and not try to be like, when you're just blatantly throwing stuff in people's faces because you know that they're going to suck it up and you don't even believe what you're saying, but you're just happy to take their money from them, that I start getting a little cheesed off about. And it, when you've been doing it long enough, you can really start to see the ones, they don't really believe what they're saying.
Yep.
They don't fully get behind it. They're just saying it because they think that's what you want to hear and what it's going to take for you to give them your money.
There's a lot of that, and
that gets under my nerves. And I got really cheesed off about it today, and I actually had to with another friend just to we're not going to break anything. We're not going to throw anything. Scotch Irish is not going to come out. We're going to just chill. But boy, we've got to do a video because it's the only way I'm going to get it out of my system. And I've got to do it in a way because I don't want to give them any notoriety or anything else. And I believe people are also free to go and make their own choices. But I just think that there needs to be some counterpoints put out there for your consideration. You can completely dismiss everything I say, won't hurt my feelings, but I feel like I need to at least throw some stuff out there for people to ruminate over when they're watching other stuff.
I'm looking forward to it. And offline, I love to chat at you more, so you can bounce ideas off me and stuff.
You might get a phone call in the next day or two. I just didn't get a chance to today because I was ranting with the other friend and balls to the wall trying to get work done before I got on here with you tonight. So
right on. All right. So I think that puts us 39 minutes over schedule. which you know how I am
Oops.
about rules, so that doesn't really affect anything. I ain't got no wisdom to sign off from, so I guess we'll just call it good. And you all take it easy. I'll see you next Wednesday. And even if John's not on here with his lovely face that he won't cover up, maybe he'll pop into the comments.
I try to when I can, but honestly, sometimes about the time you're getting on is when I'm trying to finish up work and get ready for bed. So
Right on. All right, so we'll call it good, and I'll talk at you all later. Take it easy.
see ya.